You don't arrive at the Sophia stage with fireworks. There's no cosmic announcement, no voice telling you that you've graduated from suffering. In fact, most people miss it entirely because they're still waiting for something dramatic to happen. But here's what Jung understood. Psychological maturity doesn't feel like elevation. It feels like integration. It feels ordinary, quiet, stable. And paradoxically, this is often the stage right before real love enters your life. Not the fantasy kind, not the projection, but the kind that meets you as you are. Let's go straight into the signs. The first sign is simple. The wound no longer bleeds. Your past hasn't disappeared. You still remember what happened. You remember who hurt you. You remember the version of yourself who didn't yet know how to carry it. But your body doesn't react the same way anymore. There's no sharp contraction in your chest when you think about it. No silent vow to never let that happen again. The story exists, but it no longer defines you. Jung called this shadow integration, not erasing the darkness, not pretending it didn't shape you, but allowing it to become part of your structure instead of your identity. Like a tree struck by lightning, the mark remains, but the tree keeps growing. When you reach this stage, you stop trying to prove that you're healed. You stop narrating your pain as a badge of wisdom. You don't need others to understand your history in order to validate your present. And this is crucial for love, because when the wound stops bleeding, you no longer expect a partner to compensate for it. The second sign, the spiritual ego falls away. Earlier in your journey, growth may have become another identity, the one who is conscious, the one who sees through illusions, the one who has done the work. But now, those labels feel unnecessary. You don't care about being further along. You're not comparing paths. You're not scanning conversations to measure depth. If someone misunderstands you, it doesn't disturb you. If someone admires you, it doesn't inflate you. You've stopped using awareness as a social position. Jung warned about inflation, the ego identifying with spiritual insight and mistaking it for superiority. At the Sophia stage, that inflation deflates naturally. You no longer need to guide everyone. You no longer feel responsible for waking people up. And this matters for love, because you're no longer looking for someone to confirm that you're evolved. You're available for partnership, not performance. The third sign, the body becomes your compass. Wisdom moves out of your head and into your nervous system. You stop asking everyone what they think you should do. You don't search endlessly for signs. You don't analyze every interaction to death. Your body tells you. When something is wrong, there's a quiet tightening. When something is aligned, your breath deepens without effort. You stop confusing intensity with truth. This changes who you choose. You're no longer drawn to chemistry that feels like chaos. You're drawn to what feels steady, and steady doesn't mean boring. It means safe enough for depth. At this stage, love doesn't enter as a storm. It enters as recognition. The fourth sign, solitude becomes fullness. Being alone no longer feels like waiting. You don't use relationships to stabilize your identity. You don't panic in silence. You don't need constant contact to feel secure. Solitude feels spacious. Earlier, you may have filled every gap with distraction, messages, noise, busyness. Now you can sit in a room alone and feel complete. Jung described individuation as the process of becoming psychologically whole. A whole person does not seek another to fill emptiness. They seek another to share wholeness. This is when true love becomes possible, not because you need someone, but because you don't. The fifth sign, your will transforms. You still act. You still create. You still move toward what matters. But you're no longer driven by lack. Earlier, your actions may have been fueled by hunger, trying to prove your worth, trying to secure a future, trying to avoid being left behind. Now there's less urgency. You pursue what feels aligned, but you're not devastated if it doesn't unfold exactly as planned. Success doesn't define you. Failure doesn't threaten you. This changes the energy you bring into relationships. You're not trying to make love work at all costs. You're not forcing outcomes. You're not negotiating your boundaries to keep someone. You act from clarity, not fear. And that clarity attracts a different kind of partner. The sixth sign: time loses its authority. You stop postponing your peace. You're no longer telling yourself that life will finally begin once you find the right person, or once you reach a certain milestone. You don't feel behind. The past no longer pulls you backward. The future no longer pressures you forward. You're here. This presence is subtle but powerful. When someone new enters your life, you're not evaluating them based on how they fit into your timeline. You're not rushing intimacy because you fear time is running out. You let connection unfold at its natural pace. And ironically, that patience creates depth. The seventh sign: compassion without the savior. You still care deeply, but you no longer feel responsible for rescuing anyone. Earlier, love may have meant saving, fixing, absorbing pain. Now you understand something different. Growth cannot be outsourced. You don't interrupt someone's process just to relieve your own discomfort. Jung believed that assuming you know what another soul needs can be a subtle form of control. At the Sophia Stage, you offer presence instead of solutions. You allow others their dignity. This is essential for healthy love, because you stop choosing partners who need to be fixed, and you stop presenting yourself as someone who needs to be saved. What remains is mutual respect. The eighth and final sign: the ordinary becomes sacred. This is the quietest shift of all. Life becomes simple. You're no longer chasing peak experiences. You're not addicted to intensity. You don't require drama to feel alive. You wash dishes, you take walks, you have conversations. And it's enough. You're not narrating your growth anymore. You're not performing awareness. There's no audience in your mind. You're just living. And this is the state in which real love can finally recognize you, because projection requires fantasy. But true love requires presence. In Jungian psychology, we often project our unconscious onto partners. We fall in love with our own unlived parts reflected back to us. That's why early relationships feel intoxicating. They're charged with projection. But projection fades. And when it does, what remains is either disillusionment or depth. If you've reached the Sophia stage, you're less likely to project. You're less likely to confuse longing with destiny. You see people more clearly, and you allow yourself to be seen. That's why this stage often precedes true love. Not because the universe rewards you, but because you're finally capable of meeting another person without asking them to complete you. You're no longer searching for someone to heal your wound. You're no longer trying to impress, rescue, control, or possess. You're steady, and steady is rare. So here's the real question. If these signs resonate, are you willing to stop searching for something more dramatic? Are you willing to accept that nothing extraordinary needs to happen for your life to be aligned? Sophia isn't a badge. It's not enlightenment. It's not superiority. It's what remains when you stop fighting yourself. And when you stop fighting yourself, you stop fighting love. You don't chase it. You don't fear it. You recognize it. And when it enters, it doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like coming home. Not to another person, but to yourself, reflected clearly in their presence. And this time, you're not looking for someone to save you. You're ready to meet them.